Hey, what's up guys? This is Astranox. This is going to be a guide, a review for Fallen Cecilia. I do have her on all three of my accounts. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So I'll talk about multiple things for her, like her skills. I'll go over them. I'll talk about her skill multipliers, her stats, the way you should skill her up, so skill up priority. I'll talk about different builds for her, how you should gear her, what kind of artifacts, what sets, like what main stat to go for on the right side, what would be some of the best setups that you could be using for her, stat priority for your substats, different setups. I have three: bruiser setup, tank setup, and support setup. And I will also talk about where she shines in the game. But first, I would like to go over like my arena and my experience with her. I'm using her mostly in PvP, but I'm using her sometime in PvE, like when I'm just pushing in the abyss. This is a Europe account. This account is 97 days old now. And yeah, mostly for PvP defense. Using her sometimes on offense, a lot more when I did get her originally, but now it's mostly on defense. And yeah, PvE, so Abyss, I use her in Spirit Altar with 2 damage dealers. She's set up as a bruiser, and the barrier is enough to just sustain the damage coming my way. So that works out. And this is my win rate. So first of all, this is my defense. It's pretty stally, and I mean, buys time, get the lightning damage to build up. And yeah, it must be pretty annoying to fight against. Now, the win rate, don't mind the 2 weeks ago, because that there was a player that kept on attacking me after 2 losses. They keep on like they can keep on attacking you, and they don't lose any rating, and you are not getting any rating, but they are getting conquest points. So that's a way to quickly dump your like flags and just get conquest points when you just you don't have time to do arena, or you gotta go sleep or something of the sort. But my win rate's around 30%, and it's pretty good. I don't have Crimson Armin, of course. This is the Europe server, and yeah. So I'll talk about all the stuff that I said, skill multiplier, and all that in a second. This is the way I built her, but it can definitely be improved. To be honest, like, these stats are not as high as I would like them. Immune set, I'm trying that out. I would prefer double HP set, but yeah, I'm running that anyways. And Elbrus Ritual Sword, definitely annoying to keep on provoking the enemy, disrupt them, buy time. And it's pretty great. It's pretty great. My effectiveness needs to be higher. My HP needs to be higher. Everything needs to be higher, basically. But it's been working out for now. So let me go in the journal, and I'll just showcase her skills real quick. But there's a lot of stuff I need to go over. So let's go here and check skill 1. That's the provoke. I mean, 100% chance after skill ups is insane. Skill nullifier, super useful. If you time it right, you can definitely, it's a game changer in PvP, but also you could use that in PvE, and it's really helpful. So her skills, skill 1 has a multiplier of 130% attack based and 7% of her own max HP. So like I said, 100% chance to provoke, and it's great. It's great. The barrier on your whole team initially when the battle starts, and then gets applied to the lowest health ally. Very strong. That's why I skilled that up first. I bring it to +4. That's how I did it, but I'll talk about that in a second. And the multiplier on that is 10% of her max HP. And after Molagoras, it's 15% of her own max HP. This skill 3, the skill nullifier, lasts forever until damage is, well, until someone tries to deal damage, and then it gets used. It goes away. So this attacks all enemies, and the multiplier on that is 115% attack based and 12% of her own max HP. That's the HP scaling. And it hits pretty hard. It hits pretty hard when you have her as a bruiser with the high crit damage, high HP. I mean, the attack is not something you would really go for because it's so much better to go with HP, to be honest, especially since the barrier gets stronger with the HP. So this, like, it's really powerful. The soul burn, you can use that to reduce the cooldown by 2 turns. 10 souls only, so that's pretty cool. So, I mean, it's skill up, 5-turn cooldown. Use that. It's only a 3-turn cooldown. I mean, if you use her on offense in PvP, you can definitely, like, nullify a lot of damage with this. So, her stats, I mean, the attack stat is, it's pretty low, but it's fine. Her HP is very high, almost 7,000. Speed at 104, that's kind of, like, average for a knight. Defense is high, which is good. So she's got very good survival stats. And now I'll talk about the skill up priority. I would say that this is the bigger priority. I mean, bringing the barrier up to survive turn 1 against some crazy cleave comps, very, very powerful. So that's why I went to for +4 on that. But I would say you could go for +3, and then you could get that to +3 for the -1 turn cooldown. And then, I mean, you could go there for +2 to get the 5% effect chance. It really depends how much effectiveness you have, but 85% chance is already very high. And then I would say, like, max the barrier, and then if she's set up as a bruiser, then you have to max this thing because that's a lot more, 25% more damage. If she's not set up as a bruiser, don't worry, you don't care too much about the damage, well, just go for 100% chance to provoke. So bring that thing to +4. You could just go like +3, +3, and then maybe +2 here, max this thing, and then get this to +4. But if you care about damage, well, build her the other way I talked about. So that's the way to skill her up. Now, for the gear, like artifacts, Elbrus Ritual Sword as a bruiser, that's a no-brainer, right? Because you want her to just keep on provoking and deal more damage and be as annoying as possible. So plus 15 enhance is 15% chance to counterattack when an ally is attacked. If it's max, well, 20%. But it's perfectly fine with just 1 copy. If you build her with, like, as a tank, as a support, Aureus is definitely a great artifact for her. I mean, there's a build I want to talk about, like a support build, and maybe someone else on the team is running like Aureus. Let's say it would be maybe more for PVE against some very specific encounters. Maybe not in those encounters might not be in the game yet. Maybe it's like Automated Tower hard or some other stuff later. Maybe she can be running on Hilag lands to get some combat readiness, while your other knight has Aureus and they have like super high defense, and she like constantly applies barrier on that knight, and like it's gonna get more effective HP. That those barriers are gonna stick for longer and absorb way more damage because they have high defense. Something of the sort. I was thinking about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for artifacts that I recommend for her. So let me go back in the journal and let's talk about what sets she can be wearing. So I would say that a setup I would really enjoy trying would be her on a counter set plus immunity set. And like, because Elbrus only triggers when your allies are getting attacked, but if you're running counter set, well, that's another chance. That's 20% chance for her to counter when she receives damage. And if she is on, like, if she's provoking the enemy, well, when they're attacking her, well, Elbrus cannot trigger, but counter set could trigger, so you could constantly counter attack. So counter immunity is a setup. You could run speed and immunity. I mean, it really depends what you're farming in the game, right? So if you're mostly farming Wyvern, you could be running speed immunity from Azimacalus raid. Let's say you don't even have to get it from Azimanacant, I mean. You could also run her if you're farming Golem, double HP set plus immunity. If you're, yeah, that's what I'm doing, farming Golem. If you are running Banshee, well, yeah, counter set plus immunity sounds really interesting, but also you could try destruction and immunity if you want to deal even more damage. So yeah, there's that. So for main stats, I would say HP percentage on the necklace, on the ring, and on the boots. But the boots, you could be running speed. It really depends, though. I would say for PVE, you would be running speed boots. If she's wearing Aureus, forget about speed boots. She's gonna get destroyed. You need to have as much health as possible. So like all HP all the way on the right side. But if she's a bruiser, you could be running her with the crit damage necklace, ring HP percentage, and boots HP percentage. If she's a bruiser, you're going to be countering because of Elbrus, Ritual Sword, and especially if you're running counter set as well, well, you don't need to worry about speed, so definitely HP boots. But if you want to use her more in PvE, then like you can definitely have a speed if you want to apply those barrier more often and cycle through this thing more often. Best setups, I would say, I mean, counter and immunity just sounds so good with Elbrus Ritual Sword. It's kind of hard to beat, but yeah, different ways to build her anyways, like the other sets that I talked about. I mean, it can definitely be very good to run her with these other setups. Now for the main stats for one of the best setups, I would say like for necklace, I would run bruiser setup with counter immunity and Elbrus, crit damage necklace, HP percentage ring, and HP percentage boots. And for the priority for these stats, I would say that HP percentage is first, and then it's crit chance, and then you could have effectiveness and then crit damage. Because I mean, if you don't have the effectiveness, you can't really fully use these provokes. And yes, she can counter, she can with the Elbrus, maybe she has the counter set, another chance to counter, and the damage will be high, but it's not going to be that high. It's mostly about these provokes and disrupting the enemy team, so you have to really put more focus on effectiveness. I would say like 55% effectiveness is fine in PvE, but bosses are immune to provoke. So in PvP, I mean, there's no limit for the effectiveness depending on how much effect resistance they have. But she's a dark unit, so she's not at elemental disadvantage, so there's that. But you should get a decent amount of effectiveness. You could be going for like 60, 70, 80, 100% effectiveness. Depends where you are in terms of ranking in PvP, which league you're in. But yeah, definitely try to abuse provoke mechanics, because you can definitely lock down an opponent and really mess up their stuff good. I mean, you could just provoke, you can shut down a healer, Soul Weaver, by constantly provoking them, unless of course they're running one just potion Val with 100% chance, then that's gonna get countered with that. But definitely invest in effectiveness for her. So that's why I bring effectiveness higher than crit damage. But she definitely needs like a high amount of crit chance first as a bruiser, and then effectiveness, and then crit damage. So yeah. Now, if you want to run her like a support, you could run speed and immunity plus Aureus. And I mean, this build would be more for opening in PvP, or cycle through her stuff and apply barriers constantly in PvE. So you would go with HP percentage on the necklace, HP percentage on the ring, and speed on the boots. Maybe you can run HP percentage on the boots, but it depends. HP percentage on the boots if you're going to do PvP and you're going to be taking a lot of damage. That's going to be for defense, but on offense, you could go with speed boots and try to initialize, and that you're going to get a lot of value out of those skill nullifier. But for PvE, like I would go speed boots for sure, because I mean they're not dealing insane amount of damage in PvE compared to PvP. So I would say stat priority for that setup would be HP percentage first for PvP, but you could even go speed first in PvE to really like cycle through your skills and apply those Baron skill nullifier as much as possible. So yeah, let's say it's for PvP, so HP percentage first, then speed, and then defense percentage, and then effectiveness. But to be honest, effectiveness should be before defense, because it's a huge deal, especially in PvP. But for PvE, you could have defense go before effectiveness because you only need 55%. So there's so many different ways to build her really, but these are just my thoughts about it. 3 different setups: bruiser, tank, and support. I'll talk about stat priority. So for a bruiser setup, I would say number 1 is HP percentage, and then crit chance, and then it'd be effectiveness, and then crit damage, and then speed, and then I would say yeah, attack percentage, and then defense percentage. But I feel like defense percentage should be before attack percentage, because as a bruiser in PvP, you need some, like, you need to survive. I mean, attack percentage, it's not going to be a stat you're going to aim for. Of course, you get more damage out of it with her skill multipliers, but you're not gaining any HP. You're not boosting that that barrier, so you should definitely not aim for attack percentage. It should not be even in the list, but I just wrote it. Anyways, for a tank setup, HP percentage comes first, and then it'd be effectiveness. You can really disrupt the enemy team. Make sure you have high effectiveness for PvP. Defense percentage to really like mitigate as much as possible, and then it would be speed. But you're a tank, you're wearing Aureus. It's about just like taking the hits and taking all that damage being redirected to you. Support setup, that's gonna be more for PvE. Speed's gonna come first, and then it's gonna be HP percentage, and then it's gonna be effectiveness and defense percentage. So that you want high speed and just, like I said, cycle through her stuff, apply some barriers non-stop. Where she shines, PvP, of course, Arena and Guild Wars, be it defense or offense. I would say that there's different ways to build her for defense versus offense. But the biggest thing would be that, like, for offense, you could be running her with speed boots. Versus for defense, it would be safer to run her with HP percentage boosts. Be it for, like, if you're going for the bruiser setup, or if you're going with the tank support setup. Like, I would say that HP percentage is just a safer bet, because like the enemy can deal so much damage, like so much burst, it's gonna be crazy. And especially if she's running Aureus, you need to have high HP, because the damage being redirected to you from your allies, I don't think it gets mitigated by defense. Actually, it's mitigated by their defense, and then like Aureus redirects between 15 and 20% to the knight wearing it, and that's not mitigated after again. So it's like gonna be like pure damage that you're gonna receive. That's why you need to focus on getting more health as well when you have Aureus. So yeah, PvP definitely amazing, especially with Crimson Armin getting that nerf. She's gonna see more play. Now in PvE, you can use her as a bruiser, you can use her as a support, and yeah, you can use her in various content. I would say like I've been using her in Abyss, and she helps. And in the raid and Labyrinth, you can definitely use her there. Probably better to run her as a bruiser with Elbrus Ritual Sword. She does trigger quite often, and she can definitely help in terms of damage. Go check out my videos for PvP. I'm using her so much. Guild Wars as well. PvE, I did not feature her for PvE just yet, but I will in the future. Hall of Trials, I would say you would have to run her with a bruiser setup, and even then, I mean, to be honest, you could have her on a counter set in the front line, and the ads are going to target her. And the problem is that you're going to need immunity buff, so you don't get stunned or debuffed heavily. So you could have her counter set, plus if your allies are getting attacked, you could have Elbrus. But yeah, things to play around with. But in Spirit Altar, you can bring her with some damage dealers, and you don't even need some healer there. Just she's going to be able to buy time with those barrier and the skill nullifier. It's going to be pretty great. And yeah, that's where I brought her for PvE. I didn't try Hall of Trials though. I didn't even try Raid and Labyrinth. But in terms of morale, she was not showing up in the higher, like in the highest morale teams. So that's why I didn't bring her there yet. But maybe there's a comp that gives a lot of morale later on. So maybe Hell Raid, I'll bring her. We'll see. But yeah, these were my thoughts about Fallen Cecilia. I still don't know how I pulled her on all 3 of my accounts, because she's the only natural 5-star Moonlight hero I have on account 1 and on account number 3 on Europe. The 1 and 2 are on global. Global, I mean, locked out with Ruel and ML Ravi. That I don't know as well how I did manage to pull that off, but it did happen. Anyway, she's a really good hero. Maybe maybe you have her, maybe you're gonna pull her, but yeah, really enjoying her. Definitely upping my team survival a lot in PvP, and she can definitely bait light enemy heroes nicely. I mean, her whole kit is great, and she can be very tanky but also deal a decent amount of damage. But she can definitely shut down like any hero if like with those provoke, man. You just constantly provoke. And the thing is, the beauty is like I kind of want to build her with try a speed setup, and she will constantly provoke, and it's gonna be great. But it's like I said, it really depends if you're going to be using her mostly for defense or offense or both. But I feel like, especially if she's wearing Aureus on defense, she's going to need those HP boots, because she's going to take a beating there with speed boots, unless you have some godly stats for her. It really depends. But the thing is, if you're running her on immunity set, you can afford to go with speed boots, because round 1, turn 1, if they can't land that defense down to like boost their damage by a ton, she's probably gonna be able to survive the damage, especially if she's a bruiser and you've got another knight with Aureus. Then there's a pretty high chance she's gonna be surviving, because you're gonna have her with high HP since she's scaling off of that. So you can definitely make speed boots work, but you're gonna need another knight with Aureus, because if she's the one running Aureus with speed boots, man, she's gonna take a massive beating. So different ways to try her out, different builds. But yeah, I'll feature more in more gameplay videos. Check that out. And that's gonna be it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Astranox. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. Press the bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video, and check out my other videos. They should be showing up on the screen now. Playlists of all sorts: Arena, Guild Wars, Guys Tips and How-Tos, and Abyss Force 62+. So check those out if you haven't. And also join my Discord server. The link is in the description. Good luck with all you do in the game. Peace out for now.